Well, as I pointed out in the thumbnail, this might be your last chance to buy Tesla at anything like these levels. And I'll give you multiple reasons why I have come to that conclusion. Remember, I'm not an investment advisor. This is not investment advice, just somebody like you that has watched it for a very long time. All right. Also, we'll talk about the Model Y, Model 3 Cybertruck might be a hat trick in the making. Lots of news on that I'll discuss later in the show. All right. This is Randy Kirk. If you like the morning show, please hit the like button, subscribe, and notify. We've got Brian White later today. I think I'm going to run that show later today, where he's going to talk about what's going on with all the new factory locations. Why haven't isn't the heavy equipment already there? What is going on, and when does he expect things to start happening? And then Patreon, of course, and buy the book. All right. I failed to mention last night, a couple of things just to pick up here. Failed to mention last night that we will get an M2, a money supply number on Tuesday. And so I'll make sure that I keep a watch out for that and provide you with that information when it comes. Also, we'll get the truck freight tonnage. I think we get train freight tonnage also, but I'm way more interested. I've always liked the truck freight tonnage as one of the canaries in the coal mine. Are we headed into a recession? Are we kind of going to go flat? Are we actually already starting with the economy picking up again? I think freight tonnage is a great way to figure that out. I'll be on the lookout for that. I don't know which day that's going to break. It seems like it changes every month. All right. So what's really one of the really fun things right now is that Tesla Cybertrucks are showing up here and there and everywhere. And there's some genius at Tesla that is behind this stunt. Obviously, we've had the camo Cybertrucks out there. I've suggested maybe they should wrap them in some other kinds of ideas. Maybe you'd like to throw more ideas at me that I can pass along in terms of should we have a bright pink one? So anyway, what kind of other wraps might be fun to do on the Cybertruck? But I also suggested, I think it was on Brian White's show, actually, or somebody's show the other day, I suggested that the Cybertruck probably is going to be the most photographed object since Marilyn Monroe. And it's already happening. I thought it was going to happen after the Cybertruck was released, actually in consumers' hands. And, there'd be hundreds of them now or thousands of them out driving around in various cities. And that would create massive amounts of attention, massive amounts of photography that would end up on social media and on old media as well. Well, but it's happening now because, again, some genius at Tesla suggested that this would be a good idea they are apparently going to build quite a number of these by hand, or maybe now they got the production line up to where they can slowly build those on the production line. But anyway, the more the better, the more that they put out there. But now they're showing up everywhere, and that is going to have a spillover effect on the entire line. I mean, the more you keep the product, the Tesla brand, the Tesla concept in front of the public's view, the effect is not just going to be on Cybertruck, it's going to be on the entire line. All right, now to the negative news. Goldman Sachs, Mark Delaney, he downgrades Tesla. He downgrades it to a hold from a buy, raised his price target to 248 from 185. Okay, so he increased the price target to 248. Now, how did he come up with 248? Why not 247.50? Why not 248.50? I mean, what's 248? How does he come to 248? He says it's a valuation-based downgrade. So the recent share gains have just been too much for him. He thinks that gets it over a little bit too far over its skis. It's not reflecting their positive long-term view. They have a positive long-term view, but they only think 248 is the 12-month. It's 248 is going to be the top price. It's going to be their estimate for the 12-month. How's that even possible? All right. He remains positive on the electric vehicle company, but there is a price for everything, and Delaney is taking some of his chips off the table after Tesla shares rallied. Okay, so there you go. So now we have quite a few Tesla analysts. So this is my number one reason. Here's one reason why I believe that this is your last chance to buy Tesla at these levels. 4 analysts who really do Tesla have all now lined up around this 250 mark, and they're calling it a hold. We've even got one that's calling it a sell. So where's it going to go? I don't think it's going to go much lower. That's just me. We'll talk about a couple of reasons why in a second. So the 250 now, I think, is going to be near the low. I think there's a chance it might go to 235, 238, somewhere in that range. But I don't think it's going to go lower than that. Again, that's just my opinion, just one opinion out there, and I'll tell you a few other folks in a second. All right. So let's just start with where Tesla is right now, and we'll look at it again in a second. But Tesla is almost back in the green. The NASDAQ is almost back in the green. So one of the things I've been saying, in fact, Tesla is like, down 15 cents. So the NASDAQ started off this morning. The S&P was off this morning. The Dow was up just a little bit, but ever since the opening, all of those have been moving towards positive territory. And now Tesla is, in fact, let's see here. Tesla is now, nope, still down just a little bit. Okay, so but moving towards the green. We'll take another look just before I go off. All right. So I said earlier over the weekend, I think that Tesla is going to be moving with the NASDAQ over the course of this week. But what do we know about the end of this week, which could cause Tesla to decouple from the NASDAQ, as it has been? It's been decoupled from any other index for the last 4 weeks. But I think it's going to be right around the NASDAQ this week. This is the end of the quarter, so you have a lot of stock shifting by the big funds and whatnot as they try to position themselves to look good. That is going to affect the NASDAQ all week, as well as the Dow and the S&P. But I think it'll affect Tesla as well, as people try to make sure that they have the right amount of Tesla in their portfolio to make themselves look good. Now, the other thing is, look, we've got the big number coming out this weekend, and we're going to find out what's going to happen with Tesla in terms of the numbers. Well, if the number, but let me put that subject off for just one more second. So one of the things I decided to do was, I'm not a chartist. I believe that the technicals are true because the technicals are true. So they're self-fulfilling prophecies. Even if they make sense, even if they turned out, even if after years everybody says, oh, you know what, the Teslas have really been able to be predictive. So far, that has not happened. But people follow the technicals with all kinds of different analysis. I looked at about 6 or 7 different technical analysts this morning and yesterday to see what all of them were saying about Tesla. These are people that follow Tesla, that are known for Tesla. Pretty much all of them see the bottom at 235. That is it. There's not going to be anything lower than 235. That we're right now. We've got a progressive wave upward. That's what all of them are showing, that there could be dips down to 235. One of them had a dip going as low as back to that 187 range or whatever, but the other 5 did not. So I'm putting in the low at 235. I'm saying that it's probably never going to go there again. Yeah, but one news item could cause that. So that's how one of the ways that I'm coming up with my 250 is it. You're probably never going to see these prices again. And here's a couple of other things that are going on that are probably going to affect that. So the Electric Viking is out this morning saying that Model Y wait times are extending in the United States, and prices have been upped again by a couple of $100. So I'm looking for confirmation on that elsewhere. I've not seen other confirmation, but I'm sure that the Electric Viking is undoubtedly not saying this out of thin air. So if Model Y is now moving out, he says, to July, August, from June, July, it's going to July, August. Well, that would be a very positive situation. And if prices have gone up another couple $100, that would fly in the face of the concern that most of these analysts have, that prices are going, pricing is still going to be an issue. I don't think pricing is going to be an issue the rest of this year, quite frankly. I think prices will continue up. Okay. So we have this report from I'm sorry. Oh yes, we're talking about the stock price. This was a comment on one of my videos from R.I. Schultz 5841. He says, when looking at the stock price, we need to consider the demand for the stock because, just like cars, stock market's a supply demand issue. And he says, who's going to buy it at a particular price? He says, only the demand can increase the stock price. So you have to have enough demand. You have to have enough money coming into the stock, enough demand in order to drive the price stock higher. And I think his thought here is, well, how can it go higher? And where's the money going to come from? It's going to have to come from institutions. It's going to have to come from retail. Where's it going to come from? Well, here's a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, every single day, 5,550 new Teslas make their way into the hands of new fans. And these are folks that are generally pretty well off. That's 5,500 potential buyers of stock being added every single day because they get in that car, they drive around for a couple of weeks, and they can't believe how great it is, and they're telling their friends. That doesn't count those who just learn about Tesla but aren't ready to buy yet. Those that see Elon on some program and go, you know what, I'm finally in. This guy is amazing. This doesn't include employees, new employees that come to work for Tesla, thousands and thousands of new employees coming to work for Tesla. This doesn't count people that are buying Powerwalls and other Tesla products that aren't buying a Tesla Model 3, Model Y, Model S, etc. so far. This would be folks that are saving up. I know people that Tesla is their savings plan. Every month they take 10% or 5% or $100 or whatever, and they put it into Tesla like clockwork. And some people, I don't know who, like me, are switching their IRA money into Tesla. All right. So there's a lot of potential places where this money is going to come from, not least of all, of course, would be the institutional buyers as they become more and more sold. What you're seeing right now is, if I'm right, and 235, 250 is the bottom ever. And we know that upside is like, just to get back to all-time highs is 400. And those all-time highs were made 2 years ago when Tesla was half the company it is now. So I don't know. It seems like it's all up and no down. I can't quite figure it out. So, as I mentioned before, the real issue is what happens this Sunday. I mean, let's really be real here. Yes, there could be news on AI. There could be news on Dojo. There could be news on Cybertruck. There could be news on the Model Y refresh. There could be news on the Optimus robot. I mean, there could be news on lots and lots of things. But right now, in the next week, the news I think everybody has to pay attention to is what's going to happen on Sunday in terms of the numbers. And if the numbers come in at 435 to 445, which is, I think, the absolute bottom they could come in, well, the stock is maybe going to drop back to that 235 level. I don't think it'll go any lower than that, even at those numbers. And if it comes in above 460, which is a real possibility, maybe even over 450, but if certainly 460, then we're off to the races. And 300 might not be the top if we come in above 460. We certainly need the overall market to continue to be strong in order to go above 300. I would not deny that for a minute. But if we see 460 and we see a strong macro, I think going above 300 is now a possibility. So last check I looked, oil is down this morning again, just above recent lows, under $70, right around $68. It dropped as low as 67. We'll see what happens with oil. I would be paying attention to oil. As you know, I also pay attention to 10-year bonds. Those are down this morning also. Last time I checked, could be different by now, but that's still suggesting that the bond players think inflation is over and the Fed won't raise again. Well, that's going to be good for the market. All right, here's an idea. The fast iteration and the great engineering at Tesla could create a hat trick more impressive than anybody is thinking about. This is my last thought for the day before we take one last look at the market. Brian White said over the weekend he thinks the Model Y will become a much bigger seller after the refresh. I need to do more research on the sedan market. He opened my eyes. He says, look, the United States doesn't sell many sedans, but Europe sells sedans. And there's still a sedan market out there. And even in the United States, it's just that we don't pay attention because it's all Japanese. So will Tesla Model Y start replacing, I'm sorry, Model Y, I said that wrong all along. Brian Weiss thinks the Model 3 will become a much bigger seller after its refresh. You probably knew what I meant. I'm so sorry. And that the sedan market is way bigger than I'm thinking it is. And that got me thinking. I started doing the research, but there's not a lot of research about the sedan market. There's not a lot of people talking about the sedan market. So I'm going to do the big, deep dig and get Brian back on to talk about it again. I want to know, what is the potential here? What is the actual TAM just in the United States and Europe? Because I think in China, we're going to see mostly the hatchbacks and the cheaper cars. Anyway, I'll be looking into that. But the Model 3 could become a major seller, far surpassing its current levels, assuming Tesla can find a place to make it. That's going to be one of the issues. Then ARK Invest comes in. They said they think the Cybertruck will sell more units than the Model Y. Now, that's a crazy idea, but in fact, the total truck market in the United States is massive, and maybe the Model Y becomes a seller in other markets as well. It's hard to imagine it being a big seller in Europe or in China, the other big markets. I can see it being a good seller in Australia, but that's a fairly small market. Anyway, but maybe ARK is onto something here. I certainly think it's going to do more than 1 million units, because that would just be what the Ram and the F-150, et cetera, these major sellers, that's what they do, is over 1 million units. Well, I think the Cybertruck could replace that market and sell over 1 million units, while those guys continue to sell maybe 700,000, and they get a haircut, and Tesla picks up the other numbers. Well, anyway, that would be kind of a real big deal if Tesla, in fact, was scoring on all 3 of those vehicles, even before we get to the Gen 3. Talk about a potential upside for the core business of Tesla, not counting robotaxis, Optimus, etc. Anyway, let's take one last look here at what's happening in the market and see. We got Tesla down a penny. So it hasn't quite broken into the green yet. It's down 1 full cent. And the NASDAQ is up 66 now. The Dow Jones is up 9. The S&P is up 950. So yes, it looks like this is heading towards an up day. It looks like Tesla probably will break into the green any minute now. And the analysts, I think, have called the bottom. That's my theory for today. It's been, oh, by the way, be sure to hit like, subscribe, get the notification button so you make sure that you see the Brian White article later today, our episode later today, and then, of course, join my Patreon, and that's it. And then, hey, you know what? It's been great talking to you.